I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
I wanted to learn more about this men's clinic that you do, because you have this cardiology practice, and for everyone, just so that they understand, Dan's practice is not just cardiology, and that's what's kind of so cool about him, is he kind of threads the needle with his company, Carolina Cardiology and Vascular Associates, and then he has a diagnostic company that, again, kind of threads and works with his practice and other practices. And then he started at this men's clinic, and we're going to get into the other ones, but first talk to me about, how does the men's clinic just come into your life?
Well, I got involved in some vein work through a friend of mine here in Charleston, a cardiologist who was retiring, and he had a vein clinic in Columbia. So I helped him right when I went back into private practice, helped him in that clinic as he was sort of retiring and bowing out. So to get the training to do the vein work, I'm an interventional cardiologist, so doing this vein work was not difficult for me as an interventional cardiologist, but I went somewhere to get trained, and I met a phenomenal guy. His name's Mike Manning. He's in Jackson, Mississippi. He's actually a relative of Peyton and Eli Manning.
Really?
Yeah, he's a physician there. He had started a very large vein clinic. Well, inside of that vein clinic, he had started a men's clinic, and when I went out there and stayed with him for weeks, I got interested in his men's clinic. There's really nobody doing it in Columbia, South Carolina. I sort of learned how he did it, how he had grown it. His was very large. And Jackson, Mississippi is a very similar town to Columbia. It's the capital of the state. But the Jackson, Mississippi population is about 250,000 smaller than the Columbia, Lexington kind of area there in Columbia. So I figured if he had a clinic that big in Jackson, why couldn't we have one that size or bigger in the Columbia area? So I went to, he patterned his after the Mayo Clinic, so I did a lot of research into how they replaced, testosterone in men. And we sort of started one small there in Columbia, just word of mouth, and it's grown big now, and it's got its own area. It's got its own clinic. When you would have a patient come in for their cardiology, and a lot, I guess, before the men's clinic, right, you would run these. Tell me how that would go. You run these tests, and then you'd see things, and then would you even say, "Hey, maybe it's your testosterone"? Yeah, I mean, it's kind of exclusion thing. If I do an echo on you and your heart's normal, and you're not fatigued because you have sleep apnea, and you're not anemic, and your thyroids are normal, and your vitamin D is normal, and everything's normal, and you're like a guy who's just don't have any energy. I just don't have any drive. I just don't feel like myself. And you do their testosterone, and it's a fourth of what it ought to be, then that's likely what it is. The problem is, testosterone is a great treatment, very safe. A lot of studies have shown that there's lower cardiovascular risk with people with normal testosterone levels. A lot of fear out there for prostate cancer and all, but testosterone does not cause prostate cancer. So the thing is, it has to be administered correctly, and it has to be monitored. That's the real key. So the model had to be where you could administer it in a safe manner and monitor it closely.
And when you say monitor it,
lab test, yeah.
Is that quarterly? Is that what is
quarterly?
It?
Yeah, we draw blood every quarter, and we're pretty diligent about that. If you don't get your blood drawn, we just won't write you prescriptions anymore. We have to monitor you. But our men's clinic model takes that into account. The problem is, as a physician, you have to be, somewhat careful what you say about insurance companies. I love insurance companies. They help me. They, send my kids to school and everything else, but they don't see low testosterone as a medical problem. So they won't pay for lab tests to monitor testosterone. I can check your testosterone today and a few other things.
Will you do that today? Did you bring?
I can test you. I can just look at you and tell what yours is. Yours is really high. Really high.